Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you for joining me for this video. And the Houston Texans, they've been busy today bringing in three undrafted free agents, two linemen from the same university within the state, Texas A&M, as well as a receiver from Missouri, in which I'll discuss each individually in a second. But yeah, going to the offensive linemen here, they brought in. Now, obviously, they got to protect, Kellen Mond at Texas A&M. So it was obviously Kellen Mond had a tremendous season this past year, and that's why he got drafted. But yeah, it certainly does help to have solid offensive linemen to protect you. And so Carson Green and Ryan McCollum, they were part of the same offensive line that was tasked with protecting Kellen Mond. And Green started 40 games for the Aggies. He started 10 at right tackle throughout the 2020 season. I remember the SEC played more games than perhaps most teams, as the SEC started a lot earlier when it came to handling the COVID situation. And that being said, McCollum started all those games at center, and he made 24 starts over the course of his time in the College Station. And then when we're talking about wide receiver, Damon Hazelton rounds out the rest of the trios for the Texans. He had 30 catches for 397 yards and a touchdown at Mizzou last season. So a little bit more about, let's start with Carson Green. So Carson Green, obviously, they had quite a few offensive linemen that declared for the draft this season. So Kellen Mond was very well protected. Guys like at the tackles positions, not just Carson Green, but also Dan Moore Jr. And so both of them entered the 2021 draft. They were both 3-year starters on the offensive tackle position. So that does help a quarterback to be able to have time and make your reads. And it definitely showed for A&M this year. And that's why they had the fantastic year that they had. And some people believe that they should have been a team that made the college football playoffs, but that's an entirely different discussion. So both Moore and Green, they both had their chance to showcase their abilities at the Senior Bowl in January. Meanwhile, and so yeah, definitely understand him getting the invite here. He's pretty big, 6'6", 319 pounds. Like I said, offensive tackle, senior. And so, yeah, definitely someone that comes with a lot of experience, and that's always great to have a guy that has a lot of experience. And throughout the Senior Bowl, his performance was along the lines of, he got to meet with, I believe he met with all 32 NFL teams. He conducted a Zoom interview with the Arizona Cardinals. And so he mentioned in the practice report summary that I'm about to go through in a second that he could have been more consistent throughout the week in terms of just, I guess the reviews that he was getting back from teams. He probably didn't have his best practice in terms of what he knows that he's capable of. But at the same time, it was good enough for the Houston Texans to decide to keep it within state and bring him in and let's see what he can do long term. So that being said, some of the summary to describe his Senior Bowl performance is that they say Green comes in near the middle of the pack along with his Texas A&M teammate. He wasn't a detriment to his line, but he was still fairly inconsistent. And they say he struggled to strike with solid contact and balance and block sustainment remained issues throughout the week. Green can move fairly well for his size, and he has solid upside with his physical makeup. That said, he didn't quite put things together by the week's end. And so that is what the report said of the week that he had at the scouting report. So let's dive a little bit more into more of his positives there. He's got nice size, college, for a college tackle, particularly right tackle who projects to a guard, they're saying, in the NFL. He sets a wide base, stays squared, and shows strength at the point of attack, keeps his feet moving, works his hands, and makes terrific use of angles and body positioning to shield defenders from the play. Fires off the snap, bends his knees, and blocks with proper pad level. Quick with his hands and keeps his head on a swivel, and always looks for someone to hit. And they're saying some of the negatives is that he struggles to adjust and does not display a lot of athleticism. They're saying he's not quick or fluid pulling across the line of scrimmage and late getting to the spot blocking in motion. So that's what they have for Carson Green. So I'll go ahead and start talking about his teammate here, Ryan McCollum. And so Ryan McCollum, he was also a graduate student, 6'5", 300 pounds. Out of his hometown was Texas, so he stayed in state. So wouldn't that be a tremendous story to say? You played in the state for high school, you went there for college, and you got drafted within the state as well. That's got to be tremendous right there. So as a senior, as I mentioned earlier, started all 10 games. He logged 690 snaps at center, served as the offensive team captain in 5 games, and as a unit was named as a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. It was a key part of one of the SEC's best offensive lines in the nation, as the unit also led the SEC in sacks allowed, only giving up zero point 0.7. Total tackles for a loss allowed 3.8, and yards per carry at 5.45. That's pretty good right there. A&M was the only offensive line to lead the league in all 3 categories in over 10 years. And so, yeah, it makes you really understand why the Houston Texans decided to bring him in. Obviously, it's not going to cost them much. If whether these guys end up on a practice squad, this might be an investment now that can pay off, 2, 3 years down the road, or perhaps add some depth. So definitely understand making these moves here, bringing in guys like this. He was awarded, let's see, the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week's honors for his performance against the Auburn Tigers this past season, as they rolled over the Tigers defense for a season-high 313 yards in a win against Auburn. So definitely flashed some tremendous potential there, and so can understand bringing in these 2 linemen here. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to discuss the receiver who did not go to Texas A&M, but he went to Missouri this past season. And so one of the things that they really say about Hazelton is that he's a big body receiver who can go up and get the ball. Now, if we watched the Houston Texans last year, obviously Deshaun Watson had a tremendous season, but it did not translate to any wins. That being said, Will Fuller was his first year being a one receiver. He did good, especially since it was his first year as a one receiver. But, the Houston Texans, they could still use a couple more receivers, especially if they're able to get someone in which they didn't have to spend a draft pick on it. They only had, I believe, 5 draft picks in this draft. We all know the Deshaun Watson situation. So if they can get someone that can come in that's a big body that can also go up and get the ball, that would be a tremendous asset as well. What comes to mind is, a receiver like a Demaryius Thomas or something like that in his prime. That would be a good addition for a team like this. So, but definitely we'll take a little deeper dive into some of these skill sets that he possesses. He's 5'11". He's in his 40 time that he ran for his pro day. He ran a 4.63, so he's not the fastest receiver. Vertical is 37.5. So yeah, I think we understand at this point he's not going to be used. He would not bring much value in terms of like speed, but definitely, just being a possession receiver, there is definitely value in being a possession receiver, being able to go across the middle, hold onto the ball, jump balls, things of that sort. So we'll see exactly, how that looks for him moving forward. Should he get the opportunity to remain beyond these tryouts and perhaps, get into a preseason game here or there, we'll be able to see what that looks like. But that being said, this is definitely going to be, for a lot of these guys, they really just want an opportunity to come in, show what they can do, and continue to develop their craft. I say this, a lot, but it's really important for these guys to be in front of coaches, help them with their technique, so that way, they know how to train. It's not just working hard, but working smart as well. So a lot of these, guys, not just the coaching staff, but, personal trainers can help put these guys in position to go out there and show what they can do. So a little bit more about Damon and how his overview of his college career went. He actually signed originally with Ball State. Coming out of high school, he was a 2-star recruit at receiver out of the Baltimore area, the class of 2016. But then he decided to transfer closer to home, and he went to the Virginia Tech Hokies. And after being named Ball State's top freshman in 2016, and he sit out 2017 due to the NCAA transfer rule, which no longer exists. So it's just a matter of bad timing for him. And then posted back-to-back all ACC seasons for the Hokies. Hazelton decided to go to Missouri as a graduate transfer for the 2020 season, where he started 4 of 9 games and finished the year with 30 receptions, nearly 400 yards, and a touchdown. So that's just a little sample of what his college career was like. So obviously, he's shown that he has some potential to him, and it's going to be up to the Houston Texans at this point to help him reach that potential, or at least, get him on a path to reaching that. But that being said, thank you so much for joining me for this video, especially making it this far in the video. I really appreciate that. As always, as more news continues to drop, you can be sure to find it here. So thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your night.